Hi and welcome. My name is Michael Halberstadt. I'm making a little podcast here, and it's the beginning of a bunch of discussions I'm hoping to do about photography. And this recording now, it's basically a test recording, but it's of my dad, Hans Halberstadt, and he's doing a little monologue or discussion about something that he's pretty passionate about, which is Ansel Adams' commercial work. A while back, he I guess basically had stumbled upon an Ansel Adams photograph that's the cover of a Sunset magazine, and it's not something that you would have expected to see as an Ansel Adams photo. It's not a beautiful nature scene, but it's a kitchen interior of a house in Oakland, and it's in color, and it's definitely not the same style that you're used to with Ansel Adams. So here's my dad's discussion, and I hope you enjoy, and love to hear any comments. So thank you very much.
I'm Hans Halberstadt. This is December 2nd, 2024, conversation with Mike Halberstadt regarding a 1940 Sunset magazine cover made by the legendary Ansel Adams. I met Ansel Adams in 1957 when I was 12 years old, and my father was visiting Ansel in Virginia at their house, then house in San Francisco at Seacliff. And I had been working in my father's studio during the summer, doing ultra-critical, highly technical tasks, primarily picking up used towels and sweeping the floor not very well, standing around, and I think I got paid 75 cents an hour. But it might have been less. My father Hal, and Ansel were friends, and Ansel were buddies, and my father hated rush hour traffic and liked to wait and delay returning home to Mill Valley by stalling, and he would do that by stopping at Ansel and Virginia's place on the way home and having one, two, or more drinks and talking about photography and God knows what else. But at any rate, so that was my first introduction to Ansel, and as you may imagine, I was not involved in the conversations about the art of photography or anything else. I was a very innocent bystander and kind of bored out of my mind as far as that goes. So I wandered around the living room and the public areas, and Ansel and Virginia had framed photographs that Ansel had made that they liked. And so I had an opportunity to see the photographs that Ansel and Virginia liked and wanted to display for other people to appreciate. And the photographs on the Adams wall were not the kind of photographs that are associated with him today. I remember specifically that there were several from a period that he spent at Brookhaven National Lab, and they were industrial photographs, essentially. And I also remember an interior photograph that Ansel had done, and I think I saw it at their house. And it was an architectural interior, and it was kind of shocking because there weren't any shadows to it. So at any rate, so I'm 12 years old, and I'm wandering around and looking at these photographs and kind of soaking it all up while Hal and Ansel and Virginia sat in the living room and drank cocktails. So anyway, this is 1957, and Ansel at the time was not quite, but beginning to be a member of the God fraternity of photography. Exclusively, I think the reputation was exclusively based on photographs of Yosemite and natural things from the Sierras, and definitely not of his portraiture or anything else. So I didn't recognize him as a future rock star, but he was a nice guy, and these visits were fun, and they had a maid, and she would fix me a 7-Up, which I got to drink while they had the... Anyway, so 1957. In later years, my father's relationship with Ansel continued, and I was exposed to Ansel more and more. And at around this time, might have even been earlier, Ansel and Virginia came over to our house in Mill Valley, and Hal and Ansel decided to go photographing. And we went over to the Fernwood Cemetery in Tam Valley, which at the time was completely abandoned and overgrown. It was a wonderful place for doing photographs of abandoned locations. Ansel loaned my brother Pete and me one of the early Polaroid pack cameras, and he gave us an entire case of film for it. And my brother and I went through that entire case of new Polaroid film, and we did not make one decent photograph with any of it. Anyway, I was recently cruising through the internet looking for sunset-related illustrations, things from Sunset Magazine's archive, and I bumped into this color photograph, and it's a lousy photograph by today's standards. But anyway, I was looking at it, and I noticed down in the corner that it's credited to Ansel Adams. And it was just a reminder to me that in the 40s and 50s in particular, even Ansel Adams had to pay the rent. And he and many other excellent photographers did work on assignment to Sunset Magazine. Sunset was a wonderful magazine when I knew it in the 1950s and later in the 60s. So this is clearly a commission that Ansel got and made a photograph to go with an article about the modern house and what might be done with it. So I was kind of shocked at what an awful photograph it is. And I suppose it was not awful in the context of the time, but I think color photography was really a handicap for photographers. Previously, magazines had wonderful illustrations, very high quality painting and line work and photography in black and white. And I suppose that when color came along and magazines like Sunset had to use it to sell magazines, that it became necessary to use it. So anyway, so here's a photograph, and it's taken from a dining area in Knotty Pine. You wouldn't know what Knotty Pine is today because nobody uses it anymore. And for good reason. It was ugly at the time, and it still is. And then it's looking into a kitchen area, which is painted sort of a light yellow. There's a fireplace on the right side. There's a dining area on the left. But everything, by today's standards, is just hideous. And I sure wish Ansel was around today to tell us what the backstory on this thing is. I think that it probably was lit using light painting, that he or an assistant had a light fixture that was moved around to eliminate shadows. It's a neat technique. It works great. I've used it on fire trucks. But at any rate, so there it is. It's just the complete antithesis of everything that people associate with Ansel Adams today. And I just wonder what modern observers not familiar with his early work would have to say about it.
Thanks for listening. I hope to do a bunch more podcasts like this. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please get back to me. You can go to the website as well, lensbusters.com, where you should be able to find all sorts of downloads, including this podcast and other Affirma and PDFs and manuals and links to videos that I've done. Thanks a bunch. Bye-bye.